All right, so we are back again for another episode. I'm kind of switching this one up a little bit, so we are live right now, and let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Talk Flirty Podcast, the podcast where life is reflected through intimate conversation with me, your host, Nikki F. Wett. And I know we're late. The show was supposed to air at 9 o'clock, but we are literally weathering the storm. It is a thunderstorm going on right now. I'm just waiting for the raindrops to fall. And I am joined tonight with special guest, the owner of VegasBowl, which is an 8-man football team here in Las Vegas. And go ahead, Tay, introduce yourself.
How's everybody doing today? My name is Tay LZ. I'm the owner of the VegasBowl 8-man football team. Been in Vegas for about 2 years. Born and raised in Northern California, but I used to live in Houston, Texas for a couple years. That's actually how I got introduced to semi-pro football. Semi-pro football is basically a semi-professional team that's usually developed by individuals with their own funds, and we pretty much imitate what pro athletes do. So yeah, that's how semi-pro came about. And as far as VegasBowl, me being the owner, I actually literally been working on this team for about 3 months. And as of July 28th, 2018 at 12 o'clock, we have our first expedition game against Desert Sentinels of Southern California at Cannon Middle School. And the cross streets are Eastern and Russell Road. That's here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Feel free to come out and support us. It's free entry to everyone. Yeah.
Now, that's interesting because you said you've only been working on this team for about 3 months. Mm-hmm. So within 3 months, you've put together, you've brought together players, you have found location for the game, right. You've put together uniforms, right. Referees. Like, what made you decide that this is what you were going to do?
Good question. To answer it the best way of my ability, I could say that I always had a passion and a desire to have a football team that I can run on my own, because I always felt like playing for other teams, I never had that outlook and that voice.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, because you have football background.
Right. And the good thing is I was blessed to be a part of a lot of very successful organizations across the U.S. I've played semi-pro football in Texas for 4 years. I can honestly say, though, this is my first time ever doing 8-man football. So 8-man football is a lot different than 11-man football. However, the difference between 8-man and 11-man is most people know 8-man football of being arena-style football, which it is. However, in some situations, when you don't have the money to build a coliseum or have some kind of place to play as far as an actual dome to play your arena football in, you usually play it outdoors. And that's how 8-man football came about. There were some people and there were some teams and there were some owners that didn't have the funding to have an actual indoor arena. So we decided that we're going to make 8-man football an outdoor event. And that's how 8-man football came about. Now, as far as my desire for the game of football, it's been like that since I was a kid. Like, I've always wanted to play football. I even remember being a child, and when people asked me what did I want to be or what did I want to do when I was a kid, I used to always tell them I wanted to play in the NFL. Sort of weird, but that was always my desire to do that. I just had a love for football for some odd apparent reason. And to make a long story short, I will never forget this, but it happened about a year ago. I was playing for a semi-pro team in Las Vegas, Nevada. My semi-pro team that I played for, I was tired of all the people just complaining. I was tired of all the people showing up late. I was tired of all the people just doing what they wanted to do. And it was about time for me to have my own voice. And I'll never forget this. I remember my coach scheduled a game for us to go play in Utah, St. George. We went to go play a team that literally just won the championship. They went undefeated the year we played them, or the year after we played them. They went undefeated the year before. So we already were stepping in a ring with like a grizzly bear. We're like, oh dang, because these guys are not only coming off a season where they're undefeated, but these guys are nationally ranked. And this is a team that we haven't won one game. So we had the opportunity to go to St. George. We get to St. George. Literally, we get up there looking like some freaking clowns. Our uniforms weren't matching. There's people fighting. There's players late. Our coaches didn't know what to do. We had some guys on the team running plays that weren't even called in the huddle. It just got to a point to where I finally just made my mind up. I said, man, I have to do something about this. So what I did was I was planning the whole time during the game of making a team. But I still had to play that game. So what ended up happening was me and like 4 other players were the only players on the team that caught balls, that we didn't drop any. We made tackles. We were pretty much like the all-star players of the game. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening was I ended up getting into it with one of the players because he didn't know what he was doing on an assignment that caused us a touchdown, on top of the fact that we were already 50. It was already 50-0, so that made it 56-0. So I was playing to him. To make a long story short, he gets mad. He throws a punch. It hits me in the helmet. We start fighting in an actual game. This game is literally being televised. You have the freaking like number 10 team in the nation. They're looking at us. They're fans. It's a packed house. We traveled all the way out from Vegas to St. George, which took about an hour, probably 15 minutes. So, to make a long story short, it was embarrassing. I stepped out of character by doing some things I shouldn't have did, And to make a long story short, it was so embarrassing that when I got back to Vegas, my nose was bleeding. I had a sort of lightweight black eye a little bit because we literally had a fist fight in the actual game, and we're playing on the same team. So I knew that this was it. Either 2 things were going to happen. I was going to retire from semi-pro football, or I needed to change something. And I was tired of going from team to team because I had been on so many different teams to the point to where it just got so tiring when you seeing the same stuff, just different people. So I finally decided I'm going to make a team. And when I told everybody this, they started laughing like, first of all, how are you going to do that? You don't have the funding for it. I told them I'm going to trust the process and I'm going to make a team. So the first thing I did was I had to come up with a semi respectable logo that I knew that the community would like, but at the same time marketable. And I had a team called the Bulldogs. So I came up with the Bulldog, and which is funny because the uniforms that we wear for Vegas Black are my original Bulldogs jerseys. But
so this was your original plan. This was your original idea. This is not what the team is now, but this is what you started ultimately like a year ago. And then the last 3 months, you've actually cultivated the team. Okay. Yep. So you started with the Bulldogs.
And the Bulldogs were actually a very respectable team, to be honest with you. I ended up making that team in 4 months. So after I got the actual name, I had to get it licensed with the state because I had to register as 501c3, which is a nonprofit. So I reached out to, I think it was the clerk's office. I had to pay to get a patent name for a whole year. that I could use in the city of Las Vegas that no one else could use. So I paid. They sent me some documentations in the mail, whatever. I got the papers. Everything was good. So then I had to come up with a logo, and I couldn't do any logo that any other Bulldog from Fresno State, from Georgia Bulldogs, any other Bulldog that was used either in NCAA or NFL or even arena football, because it's copyright law.
They're already copyright, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I did was I came up with a Bulldog. I sent it to a print place. They were like, yeah, you could use that one. No one has it. So they came up with the logo. I have the Bulldog logo, so I got that. Next, I had to come up with colors. So for everybody who doesn't know, Las Vegas is a very bright city. There's colors everywhere because you have different color casinos. You have lights everywhere. So I wanted to keep it simple. I went with green and black. The reason why I went with green and black was because black, to me, was a color that represented fear. Like I felt like if we were all to come out of the tunnel or onto the field wearing all black, it'd be a dominant color because there wasn't really a lot of teams that had it. The reason why I chose green, because green at the time was a color that just popped up in my head for some odd apparent reason. It's not really my favorite color, but it was a color that just kept sticking, like green, 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 green. Come to find out, I think I know why I chose green.
Why?
I think I chose green because I was in a situation in my life where I was struggling with money. So I wanted to invest into a team that I can eventually make a business and eventually make some money from it. And when I thought about it, the color of money is green. So I was like, okay, cool. So we'll do green and black. So that's how that went about.
Money is green and black, right?
I think money is green and black.
Green and black.
Right. So it worked out actually perfect. So the funny thing about it is, after that happened, I got a hold of some uniform places, but they were all charging me like $1,200 to $1,500 to get about 40 sets of uniforms. So what happened was I ended up calling one of my old coaches that I used to play for, and he asked me what I was trying to do, and I told him, and he referred me to some guy that knew some place that you can get jerseys from overseas at a distributed price for $700. Mm-hmm. It just takes forever to get. So I was like, all right, cool. So he gave me the number. I contacted the place. I told him, look, I want to make a football team. At first, the team was going to originally be 11-man. But then when I found out that, hey, I didn't have a lot of people that wanted to play football in a hot city like Vegas.
Yeah, it is definitely. This rain going on right now, I'm totally shocked. With this being my first summer out here, I don't know what's going on.
Right. Right. But it feels good, though.
It is hot still.
Oh, man. So, I got a hold of the company. They ended up calling me back that Monday. They're telling me, hey, we actually have a franchise that we chain with out of Kansas City. Get in contact with them, call them. I ended up calling them. They're like, yeah, we actually get our jerseys from them. I told them, I say, right now, I'm looking at having 44 jerseys. That was my goal. So I can have 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and then have extra jerseys for the people who lost them or jerseys that got ripped. However, I didn't even have enough people showing up to try out. So what I did was I got online and I came up with a better idea. And I was like, let me go with arena football because it's less players. And I felt like it would have been a little bit different for the city of Las Vegas. It's really what Vegas needs. They had an arena team here before called the Outlaws, but it wasn't really so successful. So my goal was to try to eventually get back onto the journey of just having something different in the city of Las Vegas. Come to find out, I ran across the 8-man league on Facebook that reached out to me. It was like, hey, bro, we heard that you're interested in making an 8-man football team. I was like, yeah, I am. How'd you know? And they were like, yeah, because we saw a couple of your posts saying that is there, trying to get information about 8-man football leagues. And they were based out of San Diego. So the owner of that league contacted me and was like, hey, man, we can get you in the league and you just pay a league fee, woo, and we'll get you a schedule made. And then what we'll do is we'll shoot you your schedule. And these are the opponents you have to play on these dates. And you can stay in Vegas. I'm like, awesome.